feminism was invented by men. We have only half of population that spends money.
Welcome to everyone, and we are starting to the second episode with Armand Martin. And welcome, Armand.
Good evening.
Now I will start our broadcast. And over the past 2 decades, as technology has made global communication more seamless, traditional gender roles have begun to shift, especially among younger generations. And while Eastern and Western societies have historically maintained distinct perspectives on gender, we now see a convergence with both influencing each other in unexpected ways. Is this a sign of progress and greater equality, or are we witnessing a loss of cultural identity? How is this transformation reshaping personal relationships, workplace dynamics, and social structures? And what does the future hold for gender roles in an increasingly interconnected world?
This is, I think, a very important topic today, and it's something we see everywhere as a dominant question that is not enough discussed. This shift that we talk about is often presented as progress, as the brave new good world, but it's not a natural evolution of our past. Sometimes I even have the feeling it's some kind of like an engineered disruption, because when we look into the past, either in West or in Eastern cultures, there was always that gender roles provided a kind of a structure, a balance, and clear expectations. They made sure that both men and women both contributed to society in every regard. So be it specifically in the family, in relations, and but also in the workplace. And we had stable families and societies. Now, not everything was good when it comes to that. And of course, it had to evolve, specifically when it comes to the rights of women that were suppressed everywhere, not just in the East, in the West, the same alike. It's even the case that what most people don't know is that in the West, women were even more suppressed, had less rights. Up to 150, 200 years ago, they didn't have the right to inherit. They were, for instance, in the UK, seen as property under the so-called chattel rights. But what we see today now is not something harmonious, an adjustment that takes into account these new rights that we have to evolve in this world. It's actually creating something like a breakdown of identity without any replacement. So we have shaken up the gender roles, but we don't have anything that replaces these roles. We just say that men and women, there's no more roles, there's no more clear guidance, but what comes afterwards, and how do we orientate, what do we teach our children? Because as bad or as good as it is, children, when they are young, they still are either boys or girls, and they confirm these roles also. And even when we try to remove the pink and the blue, they still love pink and blue. Girls still love Barbies, boys still love cars. And whatever you try to do, it's almost impossible to get rid of that. But what we have now is, instead of cohesion, we have, as an effect, relationship instability, declining birth rates, and rising dissatisfaction. You just have to look at TikTok and other social media platforms, how everybody's complaining about relationships, about expectations not being fulfilled, about where are all the good men, where are the good women, and nobody has an answer. And of course, the West exports its ideology to the East, and which is, of course, even more extreme, because the West had quite some time to adapt to these gender roles. And the East, in the Eastern cultures, are like overwhelmed by this very short-term change that has been accelerated by the rise of social media and, of course, the messaging over that. And what we now see, actually, what was the goal in the past was gender equality, but we don't have gender equality in the end. We have gender conflict. And this is disguised as progress. We have a huge conflict between the genders. It's like blaming side blames the other side, with many arguments there. But in this new system, neither women nor men are happy. Women feel overburdened, men feel displaced, and relationships are no longer based on mutual support. It's like more like a competition about who gets more, who is right, who is wrong. It's like a huge competition instead of a cooperation. And when there's no cooperation in a relationship, when there's competition, that cannot lead anywhere. And the result out of it, in my opinion, is that a society where family structures collapse, and that's the consequence out of it, the birth rates go down. We always talked about overpopulation on the planet, but this is one of the myths that has been showed to be not true since a long time. And when you now look in the Western countries, even in Asia, the birth rates are drastically dropping, much quicker than we ever thought. Italy, for instance,
here too.
One woman now is about replacing 1.2 child. So we need a replacement rate of 2.1 to just keep steady. And now we have the situation that in all Western countries, this replacement rate has dropped below 2. And in some countries, it collapses. I mean, and now in South Korea, which is not in Europe, the birth replacement rate has dropped significantly below 1 child. And if we then look into the future, in 1-2 generations, there will be no longer children. And it's not just a philosophical question. It is an existential economic question, because all of our social security systems are based that the young people finance the old people. So the people of today, the young people or the middle-aged people, will have issues in the future to have their pension paid. So we see a collapse that goes way beyond just the discussion about gender and gender dynamics and happiness. And what I think, or what I see here, is maybe this is not a kind of a progress. It's not an organic development. It looks somehow like a carefully manufactured crisis. And because the messaging and the narrative in our society is making this conflict between the genders even deeper.
Yes, I think the same, because there's a system that reinforces this mindset to the people. And I think people are in constant pursuit of power. Sometimes they use their bodies to gain it, or other times they resort to lies and unethical actions. Life has become all about winning. But I believe that those who know how to pause, who can embrace stillness, shine like a rare star amidst the chaos. At the same time, the complex of family seems unlikely to survive in the coming century. Divorce rates are rising. Humans thrive to deep connections, and real relationships are essential for emotional well-being. But ignoring the fundamental need, what kind of society are you creating, do you think?
That is something actually nobody knows, and we have no plan for that. But when we really think about it, what could happen? The family, when it's no longer the model that we strive for, and we are no longer able to actually build families, besides the fact that we will no longer have children, no longer have a future in this very concrete sense, what it means is that we will be isolated. And while women discuss today that they want to live together, there's a new model of like a female-centric family where women with children go together, live together in a house, and help each other raising the children. But the hard thing is in this equation, men don't play a role anymore. They are just here to donor the sperm in some way. And then they don't have any kind of role as a father, which is also something that we don't actually really know what it means for our future. And if the role of a man is seen as like something that is no longer important for families. Then what happens with all the boys that are born? How are they being raised by the mothers? So there are so many questions that we cannot answer. There's only one thing we know and already see is isolation leads to extreme unhappiness. People are sad, unhappy, depressed, because deep inside we all know that what we need in life is relations. We are thriving on relationships. Without relationships, we have no mental health. And that is something that studies show very clearly. And also old people tell us in their old age that it's the relationships that make life worth and worthy. Relationships mean compromise, mean working together. But in today's society where everybody's just chasing, like we discussed last time, short-term success, short-term satisfaction, and nobody is willing to work on relationships, where everybody comes to a relationship and says, hey, I expect this, 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 and this. And if you don't get it, you walk on, you move on. What is left? And I think that in the end, what is left is isolation. Because when we are not able to learn and to exercise relationships, then technology comes in. And this is what we see already today with men and young women alike, that young men now, they get addicted to computer games. They lock themselves in and play all day long. I mean, the average time...
Can I ask you something? Came to a very good point. Why do you think the patriarchal system collapsed? Because the system didn't work, then it collapsed. Now the genders are not in balance. And now you told about the video games. Why do you think that men started to change, or they try to get away from the game?
That's a very difficult question, and I'm not sure. I mean, we say always that patriarchy collapsed, but I'm not sure if it's really collapsed, and I'm also not sure if it was all bad, because in a patriarchal society there were a lot of negative effects, but also a lot of positive effects, because men took the whole responsibility, not just in when it comes to take decisions and have power, but also when it was going to war and take all of the burden of consequences in life. Even today, our society, when it comes to the critical infrastructure, water, energy, oil, telecommunication, food supply, it's all on the back of men. Men have taken a lot of responsibility also for society. And that is the problem when you just say everything about the patriarchal society is wrong. I think that this is too simple. There were a lot of positive aspects about it. And of course, we have to move into a future where the classical patriarchal society doesn't have a future anymore. That's a long time over. But it was not just bad, because the thing is that women also don't want actually to take these kind of responsibilities that men often took. They often want to have responsibility in some areas, but not the accountability. That's also an experience that I think I've made. And now, why is it that when we come back to the boys and young men, I think that there is a chilling effect about this. Women stepped away from forming relationships in young years. So women want to keep their options open as long as possible to choose the right partner. And they don't form relationships anymore. Really, that's a trend we see specifically with young women in the West under the age of 30. Now, what is with the young men? The young men also don't have the chance to have relationships anymore. And they escape this game. They escape differently than women. They escape with computer games, with technology. And so the average time today in the West, this is really shocking. The average time today in the West of young men is 7-8 hours computer games a day. And so they're completely out. They are completely like escaping reality, and it's not just because of something, but I think it's also because of the disruption between the genders. That everything now has to do with securing the most optimal position in jobs. There's just no more time for relationships. And so we have a lot of young people reaching 30 without any experience in relationship too. And then when they are ready for relationship, they are actually like children. And when you compare the maturity of these people with 30 and compare it to the maturity like 50, 60 years ago of young people, they are more like children. And that is also a problem. There's too much distraction. There's too much escapism. There's also the problem of online porn, of course, for men specifically. They have this kind of escape too. So they just, young men and women alike, say it's too much work. We just go into our fantasy world. And that then ends up in the situation where people don't form any kind of serious relationships anymore until it's too late, in the sense that when they realize that they want it, they are not capable of doing it anymore.
Yes, I never checked this subject from this point of view. Then not men, the women left the game of the traditional life. Women changed then. When the women got out of the game, women don't want to get married until 30 years old now, because they want to study, they want to have fun, and they want to earn money, and then they want to get married.
What most people don't realize, this sounds like a conspiracy, but it's not. It's a fact from society. Feminism was invented by men. And feminism was invented in the beginning of last century in the way we have it today by the richest families in the USA, the Rockefellers and stuff, because they realized something. They said, we have only half of population that spends money.
Where's the rest?
What if we would make women convinced that they have to work, that they are independent? They would spend, we could double everything. And then they knew that women are emotional spenders. Men wouldn't buy half of the shit we have today. Women buy all of these little decorations and stuff. I mean, most of the stuff I have here that is like this is from a woman, because men are practical. They are more logical. They are less emotionally driven. And today we have the fact that 70% of the money is earned by men and 70% of the money is spent by women. And this was actually, and the first women, women was not a grassroots movement. And the women you see in the historic pictures that go demonstrating in the streets, they have been paid. They were not going, this is crazy. They have been paid. And other women said, are you crazy? Do you really think we should go working? Our life is now much better. Why should we go working? Dude, you're fucked up. But it worked. It worked. And so actually, this is not a conspiracy theory. If you tell that in public, they'll say, you are one of these right-wing Nazis, and bringing in like aluminium hat conspiracy theories. But the truth is that it was an invention made to make money. And and the more it moved on, now no more families is even better, of course. So the only one that are profiting from it is the rich men. And that is the most crazy thing about that. The men are making money out of this feminism. The women are unhappy, not realizing that they are actually putting their money into the asses of the rich men. It's absolutely crazy.
And the women are running after the clothes, makeups, hair, nail. Every time thing coming, you must do your eyebrows, you must do your eyelashes, you must do your nails, you must change the fashion every year, and your shoes, and you must look chic if you want to find a rich husband. But in
the end, that's exactly the point. The rich and more powerful the men are, the less they actually like these kind of things. And these women are thinking that they are, it's absolutely crazy. But the most crazy thing about this is that feminism was fighting for women not being objectified, that they are not seen as sexual objects. But now they're making themselves to sexual objects. That this is absolutely insane, and they are proud of it to objectify themselves. And now, who's making the money with this objectification?
Every year, because the style changes, and that competition will never finish.
They always compare women, compare them to other women, and when they see other women doing that and being successful with that, then they believe it. That has something, but it's not just that. But it's true. It's true. So because what we have denied is biology. Men and women are not looking for the same thing. There's an interesting perspective on sexual marketplace value when you want to compare that. Women have the most sexual marketplace value for men when they are 18. So women are most attractive when they're young because it's biology, it's fertility. The probability that they have healthy offspring is the highest. The older they get, the more difficult it's to get healthy children. This is a biological basis that is still inside of our genes. So for men, women are most attractive when they're young. And interestingly, the maximum value of men, according to studies and statistics, is in a very high age. It's with 40 to 50. Men gain their maximum value because then they have built their life. They are strong. They have confidence. They are no longer children. And they also have the means, the money and so we have a huge gap between the expectations. Young men still want to marry. Much more, most probably, than women, young women. But young women want first to be able to be independent, to build their own life, which, of course, it's not something bad. It's a good, it's a good and meaningful goal. And then when they are 30, they have higher expectations than when they had when they're younger, because they have built their lives, they have built their career, they have built their personality, but they're attractive.
And they know what they want. Maybe.
The problem is, since hypergamy, so that women orient themselves up. They want a man that is making more money than them, has a higher status than them, while men don't care about this. This is the typical story of the doctor and the nurse, or the pilot and the flight attendant. Men don't care about status and money. And that's exactly the point. So women think that they also have a higher marketplace value because of their career and money. But for men, this is absolutely irrelevant. If a woman has money or not, they're looking for different kind of attributes in a woman. So we also have this kind of story that doesn't really reflect the way we really are on a biological level. And this is another dimension that creates this kind of conflicts between the genders. And then the women are confused at 30, 35, when they are ready to settle for family. They say, but I mean, look at me. I have a developed personality. I have a career. I have money. I have a house, whatever. This is actually, for many men, it's even the opposite effect. We may judge that. We may say that this is not right, and men should develop, but we are still the same biological creatures as in the past. And this is like a conflict between expectations, because women somehow started to think that men are more or less the same, like women, and they have the same expectation and looks. But this is, in the end, it's not true. We are different creatures, much more than we actually like, and I think that is a dimension that was not respected too much by women. But of course, it's also men that do not develop anymore, that they don't take responsibility, and they stay children up to an age of 30. And then when women look at these men, what do you think? It's bad. Okay, you look at boys in an age of 30. Why would you want to marry them? I mean,
they are like teenagers.
They cannot take responsibility. They are children.
All the media, films, and the new propaganda all seem to support this way of thinking. And does this fragmentation serve the interests of global politics? What do you think?
Yes.
Is it a propaganda?
I mean, you have to imagine what is the consumerism, the corporations that drive the agenda of the world politics want. They want people that consume as much as possible. The more consumption, the better. They want consumers. And family, when you think about it, when you would build a family with a young age, you don't have that much money more for consumption. And you also change your priorities. You put your money inside of the investment of the family, you raise children, and you need your money for different kind of things. So unhappy people, unhappy, isolated people are consuming more. So they are spending more money. And this is the point behind it, that I think that they are that's the goal behind it, because unhappy people, they help everybody. The farm industry, they help the consume articles, because when you're unhappy, you buy all kind of stuff that is useless to feel better. It's a replacement of real value that I think that is one of the parts about it. And,
because spiritual and emotional losses cannot be filled by dead things, because it's a very big void. As you said, as we stay lonely, we consume more. As we are more depressed, we consume more. And my last question, what is family for you?
I mean, I have a very classical view of family. There's a saying that comes from Africa. It needs a whole village to raise a child. And I think family is the people that have one common goal that goes beyond the individual needs. It's about building a legacy. It's about building something that is staying behind. It's about investing your energy into a next generation. And it's about creating an environment for all of the people that it's not about money. It's not about short-term gratification. It's not about fame. This is a structure that is there to create long-term value and create something that goes beyond our own individual manifestation of needs. And we invest there something that goes beyond ourselves. That is family. And in the classical way, it's what can create children. So it's two genders. It's a woman and a man creating children together and building a legacy. And then growing with grandparents, with uncles, with cousins. The bigger, the better, the more stability this has. And it's all about long-term investment of love into a value that goes beyond what you can express in money in the end. When you look back at the end of your life, that's also something that many old people say. You don't think about the cars you didn't buy, the bags you didn't have, the travels you didn't make. You think about when you are sad about something. Why didn't I spend more time with these people? Why didn't I maybe have more children? So when people are getting old and they are reminiscing about their past, they always think and talk about relations to other people. And what is the strongest relation? What is the relation? In many languages, they say blood is thicker than water. That is family. That is the ones that you are related to, the ones that you can rely on, the ones that are connected by something bigger than just interest. Friends can be great, but friends, they don't share this deep connection. And they are not connected by something bigger than them that connects them together for eternity. Families are.
Yeah, your words are irreplaceable, and I think delicious like a cake. And I believe only family can complete what's missing. Your family and your home become your fortress. And in a world consumed by relentless competition and chaos, that is the only place untouched by the madness and the one place where you can truly be safe. When I look at the society, even in the families, people are very lonely and they lost their connections, they lost the deep conversations. I think one day we have to remember your words and those feelings, because we will understand that money can't buy emotions. And we have to turn to our roots again, I think.
Absolutely. I mean,
Thank you.
thank you so much.